And then she said,
What's going on, everyone? Everybody over on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button. Would appreciate it. If you guys over on YouTube, hit that like button. Ah, damn it. Got to hit the thing. Everyone go ahead and hit that like button. Would appreciate it. What's going on? If you guys hop in the box, would appreciate it. We're going to see if we can go over some news this morning. Oh, man. White House on LA protests. America voted for mass deportations. I really just want migrants to not show up to work for a week and watch Americans freak the fuck out. Watch them literally. Can we do that? Can we organize migrants just not showing up to work for like a week? Can we do that? That'd be real nice. Americans voted for this. I'm pretty sure Americans voted for lower prices on shit. Your voters voted for this shit. Americans wanted lower prices, and you're over here like, tariffs. Trump warns protests at Army Parade will be met with force. So protests. By the way, they believe in free speech, right? Right? It's an 80-20 issue. You're high if you think that's the reality. You need to go talk to someone. Danny, appreciate the reset for last night. If you guys are over on YouTube, hit that like button. If you guys are over on TikTok, double tap that screen, comment, interact, help get the people in here. So they hate free speech. I think we should run that background again. Going to be meeting anything with force. Why? Because Republicans hate free speech. What? He wants to send National Guard to various different areas. That's a great way. It's like they're trying to start a civil war. It's like literally what they're trying to do. Literally what they're trying to do. And they're all over there like, yeah, we're going out to the protest. We're silencing their protests. I was not on last night, no. No, you didn't get notified? Well, hopefully it goes out there. Why is burning cars and spray painting free speech? Last time I checked, that's not the vast majority of people there. And by the way, I just pointed out, he said protests. Trump said any protests will be met with force. A protest is not a riot. That's what Trump said. He said protest. But you support fascism. And by the way, it would be crazy because, like, it's actually wild to me. It really is. It's wild to me. Pretty much it's so predictable. Basically, I'm going to start a channel where I just predict what MAGA is going to say about any given situation, and that's exactly what will come out of it. I should just do that. It's so predictable. Well, they're spray painting burning cars. States' rights issue. So what? States' rights. States' rights. States have the ability to deal with it. Zero intelligence in this live. Didn't get any more since you got in here. Love how you got your request off, though. Rocks through windshields. See what they're saying? So this is what MAGA does, is they take isolated incidents and they say these things like rocks through or violence or is this, and they apply it to their justification. So it doesn't matter what actually happens. It doesn't matter if they're peaceful. They say it's justified because there's a protest happening. Doesn't matter if a protest is actually happening. Doesn't matter if a protest is sanctioned. Because when cars that are MAGA drive through crowds, they say, why were they in the road? Even though they're sanctioned protests. Even when they're sanctioned protests. Even when they have the permits for them. They say, why were they in the road? They don't care. They don't care. Tariffs lead to renegotiation of trade terms. The fuck they do. What renegotiations have we got? They just make it up. And listen, I'm not going to engage with it because if you don't support what's happening here, you guys are just fascists. There's nothing really to talk about. Looting stores. Prove it. Prove it. It's crazy to me. It does not justify Donald Trump federalizing the National Guard. Nothing that's happened at these protests justifies Donald Trump federalizing the National Guard. That's illegal. Period. There's no discussion there. Sending in the Marines is illegal. Sending in the National Guards in this instance is illegal. There's no justification for Donald Trump doing that. Nothing happening at these protests justifies it. Period. There's nothing to discuss. The law is crystal clear. Arson and looting, how's that sanctioned? See, they take it and they literally apply that to everything. They literally apply it to everything. Watch. Yeah, MAGA loves America? They tried to overthrow the United States government. How is shitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk loving America? You love America, but shout out Nancy Pelosi's desk. You see what I'm doing? I'm taking something that happened in isolated incidents and then applying it to a larger context. That's what they do. And they just say it, right? So then the argument isn't, did Donald Trump violate the law? The argument then becomes, well, did they do this? The answer is no. No. And just to point out, just to point out that Kristi Noem said it would be traitorous for Biden to send the National Guard into South Dakota. And here we are. Could the Bozo administration be prosecuted for authorizing the Marines? Who would do this? Could he be prosecuted? No. Could he be impeached? Yes. Are the Republicans going to do it? No. Should they? Yes. If I was a Republican, would I impeach him for it? Yes. Absolutely. It's getting very clearly into the line. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. I would make it very clear that I would force impeachment. And I would make it very clear why. Because the only grip that the Republicans have over Trump is if he doesn't undermine the courts, is if he doesn't weaponize the military against the United States. And if he does that, any power you have as a congressional representative is over. So yeah, it's illegal though. It's illegal. They can't do anything. They know this. Tia, appreciate it. Thank you for the $10. Unfortunately, a bunch of dumb fucking Trump supporting Marines are about to get sent to, because we all know they're the brightest. They're all about to get sent to L.A., and then if they do operate in any capacity, they're going to be court-martialed. But then the problem becomes, what happens with Trump, right? He's going to say, okay, well, we're not going to court-martial him. Well, then you have judges against the military. Then what happens? Constitutional crisis. They're manufacturing a crisis. And by the way, this was brought up. Josh in here brought it up. We brought it up a long time ago. I'm going to give him credit because he's the one that originally did it. I did it. I brought it up and have said it on a few occasions. David Pakman stated this. They're manufacturing a crisis. They're manufacturing a crisis. This is the authoritarian go-to plan. Manufacture a crisis. Manufacture a crisis. That's the go-to plan. Manufacture the crisis and then send in to undermine and undercut and all sorts of shit. Anyway. Tia, appreciate it. Thank you for the 10. Can we get some dubs and drumsticks in the chat? If you guys want to hop on in the box and request, that's a fact. They're manufacturing a crisis, and they're doing so by saying that the people there are being violent. Plenty of video footage on the ground. Plenty of video footage on the ground. And even if they were, guess what? It's not a fucking federal issue. So it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Thanks. Thanks for coming now. So we believe Elon now? Yeah, I believe in this. I don't believe in the other shit. But the question isn't for me, because I don't believe Elon. Like, I don't know what people don't understand about this. They try like, well, you believe Elon now? No, I don't, inherently. Which is why I think Trump should release the files. Don't you? I inherently don't believe Elon, which is why I think Trump should release the files to prove Elon wrong. Huh. 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 They released in February. It's all over the internet. Every single page is redacted. I know because I covered that story, and it was in March. I don't think it was maybe it was in February. I thought it was in late February. I thought it was in March. Anyways, but yes, they did release those files. They were all redacted. Every single page. Every single page was redacted. Every single word on every single page was redacted. Hey, buddy, where's Hunter? I don't know. Probably fucking Trump's wife. Anyways, if you guys want to hop in the box and debate, that'd be cool. Do I have... Where's Diddy? I don't know. Trump's thinking about pardoning him, though. Anyway. Why don't I think... Are people having a problem requesting? I think there's a problem requesting. Josh, can you try and request? I think there's a problem requesting with TikTok right now. Yeah, okay, so hold on. Here, yeah, it's been glitchy. Here's what I need. If you guys are debating, comment in the request, just say debate. Because you show up and then it drops everybody when I open it. So yeah, it drops everyone when I open it. There we go. Now it's working. So it works now. I'll ring Josh in this morning. I'll ring Josh in.
Good morning.
Nikki, what's up?
Yeah, hey, just so you said something there, and I'm going to give you a chance to correct it. ICE is a federal authority. They're conducting operations in Los Angeles County. How is that a state's issue?
The protests are a states' rights issue.
Okay, but
the protests are not inhibiting raids. There are some that were inhibiting raids early on, but most of the protests are happening now.
There you go. There you go. There's your answer. There's your answer.
They're sending them to the protests. The protests happening in LA are separate from the ones that you're referring to.
The protests in LA are separate from the protests in LA. Okay, that makes sense.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You're speaking about a very specific incident between protesters and ICE that happened, right? And we're talking about the whole
thing, actually.
Okay, the whole thing is spread out across LA.
I thought it was just in downtown.
So you're talking it's across downtown LA. But you're talking about incidents in which ICE were being intervened with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We're talking about the protests at large, which is where Trump was sending them. Which, by the
What
way,
are they protesting,
don't try and
Tommy?
bullshit me.
What are
Don't
they
try and bullshit
protesting,
me.
Tommy?
Don't try and bullshit. It doesn't matter what they're protesting.
It
That's not
doesn't
what the
matter
law
what they're
says.
protesting.
No,
What do
that
you
does not.
fucking mean?
That's not what the law says. That's not what the law says. And that's not. You're fucking whiffing way bad. That's not what the law says. I know what the law says. That's not what the law says. The law does not say that, well, if someone is protesting what the federal government is doing, no, that is a First Amendment protected right. Is it not?
No, that is. Yes, 100%.
Right. So when we're referencing what's happening in LA, we're referencing a large riot or a large protest, right? And you guys are calling this a riot, and you're referring to a handful of incidents, and you're referring to one incident in particular that happened early on in the protests where there was ICE officers and there was protesters, right?
So
In that instance,
area, they
hold
were
on a second.
interrupting a federal practice, correct?
Right. And that
Okay.
would be justifiable to send people to, but that's not what Trump's doing. And I
Okay.
just want to point this out that we saw the same thing in 2020. We saw the same thing with federal agents in 2020, where they sent federal agents out into Portland to pick people up off the street to claim, well, it was on federal property. They weren't. They were arrested on non-federal property. They did the same thing in 2020.
What was the context of that? I don't.
There wasn't any context. They sent federal officers that were unmarked and masked to go randomly pick people up off the street. That's what they did. There wasn't a context to it. They tried to say, well, they were protecting a federal building. There was a federal building. Those people weren't arrested on federal property. They were arrested out on public property of Portland. They were literally driving a van around arresting people. So we've seen this before. Trying to say that, well, they're sending the National Guard out to do this for that. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And what do we see? We see the Trump administration, just to point out, we see the Trump administration do stupid shit like this reactionary shit all the time, right? What happened in California with the wildfires? Do you remember what happened? There's a story that happened with that, where the Trump administration literally sent people and they fucking let water out of a fucking reservoir to appease Trump. The reservoir wasn't even going to Southern California. They just pulled the plug, let a bunch of water out that they were going to use for this summer season for crops, let a ton of it out, flooded out a bunch of farmers, released this down there and said, look, we did good.
So that was done for what reason?
It was done for optics, I suppose, because the water didn't actually go where it needed to go, nor did the fires in the Palisades have anything to do with the water reservoir out of San Jose.
I'm trying to understand, like, they released water, flooded a bunch of farms for optics.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense to me, Tommy.
Yes, there's literally a news article about it. The people that went to the fucking, there's literally a news article.
What? What are they to
the
fuck
optics
with the
of
farmers?
trying?
That doesn't make any sense, Tommy.
No, because Trump can go, look, I turned the water on, because he's stupid, because he's dumb. He goes, look, I could turn the water on. I did what Newsom couldn't do. I turned the water on.
I mean, that
They
argument
sent.
doesn't make any
Hold on a
sense in
second.
that context.
Why would that not make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense in that context.
What doesn't make any sense in that
You're not.
context? He was
I
screaming,
don't know
"Turn the
what you're
water
talking
on!" He was
about, but
screaming,
in
"Turn
that
the water
context, it
on!"
doesn't
And
make
people
sense.
got sent there to turn the water on. Okay, I'll explain it to you. Okay, there was the fires in the Palisades. Do you remember?
I remember. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool. Due to water usage of people trying to stop their homes from catching on fire, and due to the fact that they had to shut pumps up the hill off so that they could reroute water to fight fires on that side of the hill, there was low water pressure. There wasn't water in the Palisades. This happens pretty frequently when you have major fires like this burn through areas, right? You run out of water. There's a water capacity. It's just you don't just turn it on and it runs forever. Right? There is a water capacity. Right.
He explained all this to Elon Musk.
All of it. It's actually on video.
Yep.
Trump, okay, so when Trump took over, he goes, they need to turn the water on. They need to turn the water on, right? And so there was the upstream is ran by the, what is it? The Army Corps of Engineers were operating a dam, okay? The people below them, who are the state officials, said, we just got a surge of water with an hour notice. We didn't have time to warn people downstream. There were farmers with equipment out there and with cattle and whatever that were all getting flooded out because they had to dump the water. The Army, they said there'd never been a time where the Army Corps of Engineers had give them an hour's notice ever. Period. It's never happened. When the Army Corps of Engineers office was contacted, they said that came from above. And Trump then later went on to claim something similar, that he had done this. So there's no debate about it. That reservoir went down into what is the Sacramento Valley, or in and about the Sacramento Valley. There is an aqueduct that goes from north to south. That water was not absorbed into the aqueduct. That water was literally let go, flew out into a fucking river, and then flew out to the ocean. So Trump could go, look what I did. I don't know what's more needs to be more clear about that.
But like again, okay. So in that again, okay. So that's good context because I had not heard that part. But even in the optics of somebody that's stupid that you're saying that you're claiming, right? Like, okay, release the water goes into a river that is not going to help with the water pressure because it's not the fact there's lack of water, it's the lack of water pressure, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so even in the thought of like, okay, release the water from that, reservoir, and it goes into a river. I mean, like, it's logically to conclude that it's going to do that. I mean, that's just like physics. Like, you can fucking know where the water's going to go. So, like, releasing the water did what exactly? Fucking
It didn't.
just
It
nothing.
just wasted. No,
water.
it wasted water for the future summer for these months. It wasted water.
For this growing season.
Well, that is really stupid. Holy shit! I didn't know that.
And we see as Trump, that's an example, we see as Trump does this on a regular basis where he does shit for optics. Are the National Guard going to do anything? No. I hope not, because if they do, it'll cause a constitutional crisis. Are the Marines going to do anything? No, they can't. It's illegal.
Correct.
Right. So it's just for optics. He does the same thing with these fucking tariffs and trade deals. He goes, we're going to put in tariffs. We're going to be hardline, whatever. Well, I'm going to put in these
Well,
crazy
to
high
be
numbers. Oh,
fair,
psych, we're going to back
let's
up.
take a
And he
little bit of a
doesn't
step
get
back. If the National Guard
anything.
is defending federal like buildings and protests, riots, whatever you want to call it, and they, start getting on federal property, I mean, yeah, they have the right to defend themselves, do they not?
I'm aware.
Nikki, that's not what's happening though. He's sending
No,
the
I understand,
guard.
but I'm saying
He's
in
sending
this
the guard
hypothetical
specific.
scenario, if they did,
Right.
they would have the right
But
to defend
okay,
themselves. It wouldn't cause a
he's
constitutional crisis in that regard.
it would 100% because check this out. He's literally sending the Marines to protect ICE agents. Okay, so what do you think? So we know police are trained to squash riots. Like they've got training in this stuff. That's what they do. Marines are trained to go in and neutralize enemies. They don't have training in de-escalation.
Neutralize threats, let's be clear.
Okay, fair enough. So the end result is if protesters come at ICE and a Marine unalives a citizen, now we have Marines unaliving Americans.
Is
How do
that
you think that's
citizen
going
a
to end?
threat to federal agents?
How do you think that's going to end?
Is in this hypothetical scenario, is that citizen a threat to the federal agents?
It doesn't matter. Marines are unaliving citizens at that point.
It absolutely
Don't you see the
matters.
point?
That
Don't-
absolutely matters.
It doesn't. So what are you saying that they're gonna hurt? So they're shooting rubber bullets at them now. They're shooting tear gas, flashbangs. These things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what if that happens with Marines who don't have flashbangs and rubber bullets? They just know how to neutralize the threat. Regardless, they're unaliving American citizens. How does that look?
I would make the argument that there would be no reason for the Marines to be there if people weren't lighting from cars on fire. I think that's a fair assessment.
So it's okay for Marines to unalive citizens as long as they're lighting cars on fire?
As long as they're a detriment to the city and a safety issue, I don't think you don't need to go in there indiscriminately just like riding down the street shooting people. But yeah, if they charge you on federal property, for sure. I think people that do that are stupid.
Well, now you're changing it.
January
First you said it was
6th?
cars on fire.
Yeah. So this is what I just want to point out. This is like a common tactic.
And to be
add
clear, I agree.
qualifiers.
You just said
This is like a
January 6th. I
common
agree. They
tactic
should have
to
been shot
add.
as well.
This is like a common tactic to add qualifiers. I just want to point that out. Where No one's saying this, but you're resorting to creating a hypothetical that makes your argument work when that's not the
It's the
reality.
Democrats'
I mean,
playbook, dude.
I mean, you're. Well, I'm sorry. What?
Creating unrealistic hypotheticals
I
that
don't think
don't have
anybody's
any
creating
basis in
unrealistic
reality.
hypotheticals on the right on the left here. I'm going to be real with you, and I can give you an option to show me one in a second. But the point is that what's happening is not the way that you are prescribing that it's happening. You are saying this is what's happening, and that's not what's happening. And you're saying this
Yeah,
is what's
but you're
happening.
you're
to
saying
justify what
Marines
you're
are going to go
saying.
in there and start indiscriminately killing people. That's not happening. That's just a
Not what I
hypothetical
said.
too.
That's
not what I
not what
said.
Josh said. That's not what either any of us are saying.
I
That's
said,
what
I
you're
said
saying
they're
is
not
the threat
trained. They're
happening
not
by having
trained to
Marines there. That's what might
de-escalate.
happen,
Nikki,
which is a
I
hypothetical.
said they are not trained
That's
to
not a
de-escalate.
hypothetical.
They are trained to neutralize threats. Now, that means American citizens are threats. How does that look?
Are they threats? Yes or no?
Apparently, according to Donald Trump,
And you
According
don't
to
think you don't think they are?
According to you,
no. No, 100% not.
So if they're charging federal buildings, they're not a threat at all.
they're charging. That's
You're
so,
setting
again,
qualifiers now.
Yeah,
These are
you're setting a
protests.
qualifier. Well, do you know if these Marines listen? If
Okay,
these
here's
Marines,
a better
wait a second,
question
but
then.
hold on. If these protesters are being shot at, can they like? You're just making this. You're making a scenario up in which your argument works, as opposed to looking at the facts. There's nobody charging federal buildings, right? So we're not talking about that. You're hyper fixated on this one scenario that's not happening, so you can justify a larger cause of action. Okay, we don't do that. We don't go like, well, in a traffic stop, if this well, what if this happens, and then that will justify. No, you don't do that. You take it in the totality of what's happening. And this is what's happening on the ground. This is the situation. Are there currently a need for Marines there? No.
No.
Is there currently a need for Marine or for National Guard there? No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
I'm sorry, there
Newsom-
is.
For what?
You're fucking wild, dude.
The
For what
National
reason?
Guard is designed to, enforce the keeping the peace on federal property. If they're
Right, but-
there and nobody's on federal property, then
Right.
they're
Again,
just
you're
there fucking
qualifying
getting
it
paid to do
with
nothing.
you're qualifying it with federal property again.
Well, that's the law. You're saying it's illegal. It's
They're not on
legal
federal
if they're on
property.
federal
But
property.
we're
Then
not.
why are they
most,
sending them
okay.
to the protests?
I can assure
Because
you
they're not
over
doing a protest. They're
99
not-
over
the police are responsible for the
99.9%, I can assure you nearly 100% of all of the protests that are happening there are not near federal property. So
They're like walking down the
Okay,
highways.
and that's fair. Then and in that case, there's nothing to worry about with the National Guard, correct?
how do I know that there's not nothing to worry about with the National Guard, especially when Donald Trump said that literally he's going to meet protesters with force if there were protests during his military parade. That's
that
authoritarian
was
as
a
fuck.
crazy statement. I'm
So
gonna
right.
agree with you on that.
So why do we have to
go.
compartmentalize those statements?
Because
Like,
one
why do I
is
have to
considered be
compartmentalize?
a
If this
riot
guy-
in the current
No.
state, and
What,
then
that's not
one
what I'm
is
saying.
considered to be a protest that
Why
hasn't
do I
happened yet.
have to? It doesn't matter. There's no quantifiable difference. You meet with
Between
the
a protest
justifiable
and a
force,
riot?
right? But hold on. But again, you're qualifying as it right, so you can justify it. And I could call it anything I want. I could say literally it's a parade of sunshine and rainbows, and we could start our argument off that, right? But we have to have a
wrong, but-
realistic understand. You would be wrong to call it a riot. We have to start it off on a realistic footing.
What would
Otherwise,
have
we
to
can't
happen
make an
for you to call
accurate
it a riot,
assessment.
Tommy?
It would have to devolve into a situation where like the Eagles win the Super Bowl, and then I'd be like, okay, we could probably call this a riot at this point. But right now, it's not there. It's not there.
Okay.
And regardless, this is a states' rights issue.
Wait, so you
mean, it
would
is.
call the Eagles winning a Super Bowl and the celebratory thing after that, which I would agree got very out of hand. You would call that a riot and not what's happening.
I would
now.
say that that's far closer to a riot than what this is. And that would be, yeah.
So the events that would need to take place, people climbing flagpoles, lighting cars on fire.
So,
like,
Are we skipping the fact that the LAPD?
or is it at the amount of
Are we?
it?
Are we?
I'm not talking to
Are
you,
we?
Tic Tac, I'm
Okay,
talking
cool.
to Tommy.
Yeah, I don't give a
What
shit.
what
I'm
is the
co-host up
amount
here.
that
I'm
would have to
co-host up
happen?
here.
It's
I'm
obviously
co-host.
very
Okay.
small right now, but in the instance of
Okay.
like
I'm
if-
co-host up here.
how much more
gonna
would it have
mute
to
you.
happen for you, Tommy, to be like, oh, this is kind of an
Josh,
issue.
you wanna answer?
Tic Tac, I'm not talking to you, dog.
Well, he's going to answer, so.
Why is it not fucking? It's not allowing me to mute him. God damn it. Anyway,
'Cause you're not the
so
host.
why are we? Yeah, I'm the co-host. So why are we skipping over the fact that the LAPD is calling this not a riot? They're calling it peaceful protest. The chief of police came out and he said we have over 2,000 officers, active duty officers, and we have more than enough manpower to actually handle this. We don't need the National Guard. We definitely don't need the Marines.
Well,
Why
I would
is
counter
his
that with saying
opinion
the
not?
mayor of Los Angeles said that there's an hour curfew in place, and because 28 businesses got looted, I mean that's directly from her mouth. So
Okay.
if the
Did she
police
say
can't
that she
keep
needs?
things from getting looted, then I would argue maybe they do need some help.
Yeah, she's not calling for the help. How is your opinion on if they need help greater than the mayor and the governor?
It's not. I would just
Okay.
argue that why are we calling the looting of these businesses and obviously
I'm going to
the
stop you right there
minimal
because
violence
I'm
that
going to
is
stop
taking
you because
place,
you're
but they can't
characterizing
stop
it.
it
I
with
mean,
2,000 officers.
you're characterizing it. Your characterization of it is complete bullshit. And
Yep.
it's like the fact is like you continually use these amped up languages and all it does is reinforce the justification Trump is using for unjustifiable and illegal actions
What is
in
the amped up language that I use?
California.
Violence?
Right.
I mean, riots, fine. You just continually use it, and if
What
I
would you call
continually hold
lighting
on,
cars on
because
fire, dude?
excuse me. That's not the majority of what's happening there. Okay,
What would
I
you
would
call
not
the
call.
act
Listen,
of
listen,
lighting a
listen,
car on
listen.
fire? Is that
I would
violent?
call that arson. That doesn't mean that
Violent?
equates to a larger crowd.
No, not at all. Do cars have
And by the
feelings?
way, I just want to point out, like, you continually do this where you take,
Motors
well,
in
what do you
cars
think?
probably.
Okay, well, what do you think about the 99% of people there that aren't doing shit? Huh? Like you take shit
I
and
would
you
say they're doing what
classify
they're
it.
supposed to do, and I hope they stay safe.
Okay, does that mean it a riot? Does that mean it's devolved into a riot because one person throws a fucking Molotov cocktail through a fucking window?
Well, there's been over 250 arrests. So
Cool.
it's
So
more than one.
Donald Trump has overseen a riot then, right? Because there's been violence that's happened there. You're talking about tens of thousands of people, and it doesn't say what the arrests are for. God, I fucking hate this. You just like it's just so like, oh, there's 250 arrests. What for? You don't know. You've just assumed that
Probably
it's
for
violence.
violence,
Right. So Donald
buddy.
Trump. Okay, show me citation.
I
think
mean,
there's been
you can
250.
probably
I
look
think
up
he
the
just made
police
that up.
records. I don't know.
Cool. I'll wait. I know what the numbers are, but 200. I mean, it might have went up last night, but it wasn't 250. But yeah, go ahead. Find me
Yeah,
what they
It
were
was
arrested
over
for.
200. I know for a fact.
Find me out what they were arrested for. And I just want to
Would
point out that,
imagine
by the way,
violence, Tommy.
I just want to point out. Find me a citation.
Do you think they're getting arrested and just letting them go later? Like, what do you mean?
Find me the citation that those were violent arrests.
So, okay. What else would they be arrested for? I guess maybe
They
that
could be
would a
arrested
better
for
question.
failure to disperse. That wouldn't be violent. They could be arrested for a number of different things that aren't violent. They could have littered. You don't know.
Okay,
Show
so
me.
the increase did. I'm sorry, the arrest did increase last night specifically because people broke curfew, not because of violence. And
that's failure to
I
disperse.
still I still stand on the fact that property, damage to property, that's not violence. Property doesn't have feelings. It can't be injured.
So I can come light your
monetary.
house on fire, TikTok, and that's totally fine. That's not violence.
No, that's.
Are we
that's
talking
a,
about
that's a,
houses
no,
lighted
that's
on
a-
fire? No, we're talking
Wait, that's a
about
straw
cars.
man.
We're talking about businesses that
You
are
just
covered
said
by
property.
insurance.
You just
Yeah.
said
straw
property.
man.
Yeah, cool. We're talking about cars. You specifically are saying the cars
Okay,
were on fire. Cars
I'm
are
gonna
property.
stop him,
Their
'cause this is
insurance
what-
covered.
This is what he's doing. Is that he's saying like, well, if you're trying to say like, well, that doesn't immediately qualify as this, right? And then he's like, well, does that mean if someone comes to your house, it's okay if they light it on fire? Nobody said that.
To be clear, that's
Nobody
not
said
what I
that.
said.
But that is what you said.
I
but
said, is it violent if I came and lit your house on fire? I would say, yes, it is.
that's not what you said. Is it okay if you do that? But it doesn't. It's again, you're trying
Okay,
to
then
take
let me
something and apply it
rephrase.
to a
Is it
larger
violent for me
group.
to do that?
Okay, really quick. Has Donald Trump? So if I started calling Donald Trump rallies riots, what could you do to convince me? I'm going to say that Donald Trump rallies are riots.
Property wasn't damaged, and maybe this
Property has
quote-unquote
been
riot?
damaged. Property has been damaged at Trump rallies.
Okay, cite me. Let's see it.
Okay, yeah, I can pull up lots of stuff. Is it just property or people? Because people have
January
died at
6th?
Trump
Are you
rallies.
serious?
People got shot at Trump rallies.
Yeah, January 6th,
call
windows
that
got broke
violence.
out.
Ashley Babbitt.
Right. So Donald Trump oversaw riots then.
No, the act
I
of
would say that's a
violence
riot.
happening doesn't mean that there's riots.
Nope, it's a
happening.
riot. It's a
Oh
riot.
wait, so the act
a
of
riot.
violence doesn't mean riots are happening? Is that what you just said?
Say again?
You said the act of violence doesn't mean a riot is happening? Is that
No,
what you
I'm
just
saying
said?
one act.
One
entire
act of
premise
violence
your
doesn't
argument
mean. Oh,
hinges on the fact that very little violence is taking place.
Oh,
Therefore, there's no riots taking place, and then you
Nikki.
just
Oh,
mentioned one
gosh.
instance of violence indicates a riot.
I didn't
taking
mention
place.
one.
So
I
which
mentioned
one
on
is
two
it?
separate occasions.
No,
there's been
multiple instances of
multiple
violence.
different instances of multiple different violence that happened at Trump protests or Trump riots.
And so
There's a
you're
guy on
claiming
this
that's a
app.
riot, but what's happening in LA?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a guy on this app that was screaming at the police, if Kamala Harris wins, or I'm sorry, if Joe Biden wins, we're gonna be speaking Chinese. He went to jail for 6 months. He just got pardoned by Trump.
Jesus Christ.
That was violence.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
He was trying to pull the face mask off a cop, screaming at him, "We're gonna speak in Chinese." His name's F-Ball. You guys can go find him, make fun of him.
He's a TikToker?
Yeah, he's a right winger.
By the way, we have a sub goal for the morning. It's 20. If you guys want to support, you guys can sub on any one of the platforms. If you guys sub over on TikTok, it's 2 subs, by the way, because it's more expensive over there because it won't let me put it in a lower tier. But on YouTube, if you guys want to support, would appreciate it. We have a 20 sub goal in the morning. And yeah, there's Venmo Cash App in the bio. You guys can send coins, help us hit up the gift goal. Came through on the subs over here in the last week or so. It's been crazy. What was I going to say? Oh, I talked to Pickles
'cause
about
of
getting
me.
in an
It's 'cause of it.
agency.
Yeah.
They like it, yeah.
How'd that
It's
work?
it's going to take a minute. It's going to take
I
a
have
minute.
a really quick question on, Tommy, you said the legality of nationalizing the National Guard. You said
Yeah.
it was illegal to do that, hands down, can't do it at all.
No, you can do it in certain circumstances. This is not one of those
Okay.
circumstances.
What is the, I guess, and this this is me literally trying to figure it out. What is the circumstance in which you can do it, and at what point does it become illegal?
I forget what
It's
it
10
is.
U.S.
like 10
Code
something.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 U.S. Code 12406 National Guard and Federal Service Call, and this is who can call them in and when. There's
And
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
guess it's
mega.
when a state is disregarding federal law, they can nationalize too.
No, it has to do with
No.
national emergencies. Essentially, when
Yeah.
the state government is out of commission because of national emergencies or invasions, stuff like that. So that's why,
Okay.
like, he's been setting this up before he even came into office, right? Like, he's been saying they're invading our country since before. He's literally been planning this. And here we are, 6 months within his administration, and we're fucking military boots on the ground in our country.
I
This
wanna
shit has
point this
happened.
out.
So I'm gonna make a prediction, Nikki. I've been saying this for a long time. Something big, really big, is about to happen. It's gonna happen at a federal building.
Oh.
And he's gonna point to our immigrants, and he's gonna point to the far leftists.
I can
Armin,
see
appreciate
that
it.
being
Thank you
like
for
a
the
false
he's gonna
flag. Yeah.
and he's gonna use that to instill martial law within this country. That's gonna happen really soon, man.
But even in the sense of, like, let's just say, well, I don't even know if I'm allowed to like say it. I don't want to get Tommy in trouble on his live, but like if some federal building was, had a terrorist attack, right, and it was in, Alabama, let's just say, like a state that obviously is not very consequential in the grand scheme of things. Could you argue martial law for the entire country if it only happened in one state, or would you have to have multiple instances of it happening throughout a bunch of states to do that?
How it would work? It's gonna be something big, and I'm comparing this to 1930s Reichstag fire, right? It was a federal attack on the parliament within Germany, and he used it to shut down the German parliament, so that way they couldn't have elections, they couldn't go, pass laws. Everything was ordered at an executive order at that point. That's how big it's going to be. Where that's going to happen, or how many times it's going to happen, if it's going to be like 4 planes, I don't know, man. I only read history. I don't know the future.
Joe Biden,
Well, I
appreciate
mean,
for the
you're
$2.
making
Thank you. Let's
predictions on
go,
the future
Tommy.
based on history, so.
Right,
Let's
that's
go,
all I'm
Tommy.
doing.
Dare I
don't know
say,
how it's going to happen.
master debater. Carmen's appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Carmen's.
So in the
Do
instance of you guys know who George Wallace is? I'm assuming you
Yeah,
guys do.
of course.
Okay, so the obviously the Alabama National Guard was federalized in 1963 to enforce the Civil Rights Act. Obviously, the inclusion of black students at the University of Alabama. Everybody knows that history. So I guess in the sense of what was the argument for that to be nationalized, because that's not in the instance of, oh, well, that's the government not acting on federal law.
Because they weren't being
Therefore,
protected at a local level. The state wasn't protecting them, and it was the federal government's duty
Right.
at that point to protect civil rights. George
there's a
Wallace
federal
was
protection.
yeah, it was a federal protection at that point, and the state was literally segregation now, segregation forever at a
right,
state level,
right.
and the federal government said no, we've decided this.
Got it. Okay. So in that protection order, you don't see that any kind of different than what's happening in LA right now as the protection order. If the National Guard isn't going out there to actually police the people, they're there to protect federal buildings. How is that any different?
Because this is
Because
kind
the
of
poli-
ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah,
when
the
does he
police
call
don't-
them
Hey,
federal
but
guard?
that's not an argument.
But
That's not
I
a
just
legal
want to
argument.
point out. I mean, it is ridiculous. Donald Trump already said
But that's
that
not
he
a
doesn't have
legal
the power
argument,
to call.
Tommy.
It is. Donald Trump said he doesn't have the power to do it. He said he does not have the power to call in the National Guard. He said that.
Because, like
That's
I said,
what he
in
said.
the
When did he say
first-
that?
In his first term.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
in
He
an
doesn't have the
interview.
power
I
to
can-
call
I
in the
can
National
pull it up.
Guard.
In what instance?
Do you want me to pull it up? Fuck.
Yeah, you can
Why
put
do I
it
have
up.
to? So
Well,
while
I
I'm
don't
pulling
remember
it
what
up,
happened in fucking 2018, dude. Yeah, it's 7 years
cool.
ago.
While I'm
Shit.
pulling it up, hold on.
Because I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. And the reason I say it's ridiculous, just this isn't any argument other than like just fucking common sense at this point. Look at all of the other protests that we've had in the United States where the National Guard has not had to be called in. Even during 2020, the National Guard wasn't called in. And he said that's what he was talking
Do you
about.
think
in
the
that regard.
riots in Minneapolis should have had National Guard call them? Or would you? I guess maybe a better
can't-
question: would you
you
even
can't-
classify those
you
as
can't-
riots?
You
I
can't
just wanted to-
call them in. Go ahead.
Before I play this, I wanted to point out like the differences. I said during the George Wallace thing that the local and state government, they weren't doing their jobs in protecting people. They were actually okay with segregation at a state level. That's not the same case here.
It's
the local government
If
is-
you look at
is-
it from the perspective of enforcing federal law, it is the same case.
No, the state and local police forces are doing their job. So your claim would have to be that the state police are with the protesters then.
No,
Because
no.
that's what was happening in Georgia. The state police were also with the people who were wanting segregation, and they weren't willing to protect black children to going into school. That's why they did the federal government thing, because the state wasn't willing to protect. Now, in the case of California, the cops are lining up against the protesters. It's not the same case, but I did find that video. Hold on.
I'll let you play the video before I say.
Ago at the Republican convention, I'm going to restore law and order.
And I
in this
have,
country.
except in Democrat-run cities. Look,
We have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
Like he said that in 2020 during an interview.
During the, I guess
It was,
there was
it was
something
after
happening.
the BLM.
Okay,
It was after
got
the
it, got it.
BLM protests and.
You can't use the Insurrection Act in this.
And I'm not arguing he should at all either. I think
know
it's
someone
more
in the
of
comment
in the-
section is spamming the Insurrection Act. You can't use the Insurrection Act for this. It doesn't qualify. Doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I
to
think
do
you'd
with
have
the
to have a
government.
lot more happen for that to even qualify.
Yeah.
But I think to simply call this like a peaceful protest at this point, I think is a little crazy, Tommy. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a little crazy to say that like 99% of the people there are peaceful, so we should call it violent. The problem is this, right? It's not.
Yeah, but
that,
Tommy,
I'm gonna
like,
hold on a
there's
second. I mean to listen
curfews,
for a second.
man,
I want
like-
you to listen for a second. Oh my God, I know the police get to the police just determine what violence is, and you just fucking run and goose step with them.
No, the law.
The problem
determines
is
what
this.
violence is.
The law does not determine largely what violence is. Like there's violent crimes. And if you wanted to use that, the things that you've listed as making this a violent or a riot would not qualify. So, At any rate, I want to point this out. This is the problem. The problem is not how you qualify or classify it, right? I mean, it is, because I think you're just not living in reality. If there's like a mega protest that happens somewhere, like, you notice how nobody's saying like the Freedom Convoy was like, oh my God, it's this violent riot, because nobody would qualify it or classify it as that, because that would be an incorrect assessment. They parked on the fucking street for the most part. There was some property damage, but I don't remember it being particularly riotful, right? And it's this way in a lot of instances. There's a judgment call on when you would call it a riot. If you think this is a riot, though, I'm going to be so for real, you're a bitch. This isn't nothing on what happens in Europe. This isn't anything that what happens in major actual riots, like when you're talking about where crowds go wacko and it's just like everything goes crazy. Not even close. Not even close. The problem is this, that is being... And just to be pointing out here, I know, right? Nobody would be talking about this if it wasn't for Trump and the Republicans pushing it, nor would you qualify it as a riot or a violent protest if it wasn't politically charged. For the same reason that nobody called the shooting that happened with the Chiefs Super Bowl celebration, said, oh my God, it devolved into violence, the whole place. No one has said that. No one has attempted to say that. No one has said that about a lot of different protests or a lot of different gatherings that went wrong. Why? Because it would be mischaracterization. You guys are taking something that is very clearly like mostly mellow, adding fucking more problems to the mix, the National Guard and the Marines, and then being like, why doesn't it get better? You've thrown more fuel on the fire. And then you're turning around and blaming a bunch of people for protesting, which is their First Amendment right, and qualifying it as being like violent, which I have friends that are there, by the way. And so you're taking this thing and you're taking it and calling it violent because the fucking Republican Party told you to do that and Trump told you to do that, and you're using it and you're giving credence and it's giving justification of what they're doing, which is illegal. It is illegal. There's no argument there. There's nothing to argue. It's illegal what Trump is doing.
It is very much legal in the eyes of the court
system. Who lost the court case?
Gavin, didn't he file a court case to get the National Guard to not be nationalized?
It was moved to Thursday.
Oh, it was moved to Thursday?
Yeah, he didn't put an emergency injunction on it. It was moved to Thursday. But I want to point out, I watched Johnny Palmedessa's live last night, and it was about 800 people walking down the street singing This Little Light of Mine. Fucking horribly violent.
That's so violent. Oh my god.
Well, it depends on what you're doing while you're singing.
The question is, what are they going to do with the light? What are they going to do with the light, Josh? Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, if you're going to light something on fire,
burn the Constitution down. That's what they're not doing.
Burn the American flag, huh?
I mean, come on. Like, some of that stuff you got to admit is a little bit ridiculous, don't you mean? I mean, come on. Let's find some common ground here. Like the lighting the flag on fire, that kind of stuff, that imagery just in general is very inflammatory in of itself. I would agree with you. Nationalizing the National Guard is inflammatory, but you would have to argue then the other side. There are some people on the other side that are inflaming the situation.
All right. There's a bunch of Republicans that run around and burn their shit, right? Their Kaepernick jerseys, their Carhartt, their... Right?
Carhartt? Oh, I haven't even heard that.
Yeah, they burn their Carhartt.
I think we should start a bubble revolution. All the protesters go out there and just blow bubbles.
I was thinking, someone actually sent me a message and was like, it would be really funny if we could get all of the protesters to swap out and wear mega gear.
Yeah. But think about it. Like, we
just see what the optics would look like.
we saw what happened.
How would it change?
We saw what happened in Estonia with the singing revolution. They literally held hands and sung for days on end, and it worked. You know, they were literally able to change their government policies because of their revolution. We could do something like that, a bubble revolution. We go out there and just blow bubbles.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Bubble machines, just fill it up with bubbles. No one can see anything. How would the police fight that? How would the police fight that? They can't see past these bubbles. Anyways, if you guys want to support the channel, there is a Venmo Cash App in the bio. You can also sub. We have a 20 sub goal for the morning. We got at least one debate in here going. But if you guys want to support the channel, would appreciate it. You can sub. And Carmen, appreciate it for the sub over there. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody says bubbles are tariffed. Fuck.
All right, that was pretty funny.
Fuck. They got up to $1 to something. Jules, appreciate it. Thank you. I live in KC. Nobody said it was violent. People were hurt. Appreciate it, Jules. Thank you. Can we get some?
But you
dubs
guys
and
would
emojis in the
agree
chat
that
for
people that
Jules?
are throwing bricks at officers and stuff, like you would say, hey, like don't do that, right? Like let's find some common ground
No,
here.
don't hurt people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
at least we found that common ground. That's good.
But the cops shouldn't be firing rubber bullets at people either. So let's have some.
Yeah,
some,
I mean we've.
No, I would agree with that. I think that's I mean in your words inflammatory. I think that's like, I mean, unless you're being actively attacked, you shouldn't, fire on people. I also think tear gas is also a little bit a bridge too far for me. I think that's also kind of like,
it's
I mean, that's
actually
like
fact.
gas warfare,
Do you know
it's
that
illegal.
tear gas is illegal internationally to use? You can't use it in war, but you can use it for domestic purposes.
Anything.
I guess the argument there is because it's non-lethal.
It's considered a chemical irritant for purposes of the I think it's the Hague Convention.
It's because of it prevents you from being able to breathe properly, and that can be an experience of a death-like experience. That's too much.
Another fun fact: bullets that are hollow point are illegal in war. They're considered a war crime. You can't have hollow point bullets.
You can have uranium-tipped ones, though. Make that make sense.
Wait, so why? Well,
No, I think that's for small arms. I don't think that's for small arms. So I don't know how they get around that, but I think that the tipping of it matters because you can't use like, I don't know that they would, but you can't use green tip. It has to be like regular bullets. Like most armies have agreed to this because like obviously hollow point makes trauma care so much more difficult. So
isn't hollow point the ones that like go straight through, and then the other ones are like will it bounce around inside of you, or am I have it opposite?
No, hollow points have a little like hollowed out part of the.
They go in little, they come out big.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
basically like it actually works on a principle that they use to take out like tanks where it's like a cone, right? So it funnels energy. So what happens is when it hits, that energy goes, it sort of like creates a harder impact, and then the energy disperses and it spreads and opens mushrooms. Anyways, but yes, it is.
It's a
legal.
cone. It's a cone on
it.
top of a. Yeah, it's a cone on top of a projectile. The cone takes the most of the brunt and
Shake
expands
charge.
with all the all the energy, and then that allows the one behind it to get through the actual tank, because the surface has already been damaged.
Wells, appreciate it. Thank you. I didn't know Bubbles the clown is back in town. No, he's not back. He's not coming back. This guy said PDF simps. What? We didn't vote for Trump.
I'm gonna start doing that. I'm buying a bubble machine gun.
Oh, you're talking me?
And,
I think you're talking
I'm
about the people in
buying,
the chat.
and a bullhorn. I think those are the two things we need to take to protests. Bubble guns and the ones that you pull, and they just like so many bubbles come out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one thing I will say on the Marine deployment, and I'll give you the kind of tip, what do you want to call it, tip to the cap on this one. I think it's a little insane for the Marines that maybe aren't in active duty anymore, that are like going on social media saying like, oh, look out guys, like they're coming to kill you. I think that's like a wild thing to do, just in general, being like, I mean, that's like stoking fear,
Well, they're hitting 5 different cities today.
The Marines are? I thought they were just in LA. Or are they even in LA yet?
I think they're coming with the National Guard to Phoenix, New York, Seattle.
Are there even demonstrations happening there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, man.
There are demonstrations in Seattle?
This is what's kind of crazy.
There might be some
if you're
small
kind of
ones.
a person that only watches like legacy media, you wouldn't know anything about the other cities. You would think it's isolated in Los Angeles, which is kind of wild.
Are there protests going on in Seattle? I don't know that they're. Hold on. I haven't seen anything. There's a few small ones. There's protesters burn American flags outside Seattle Federal Building. Okay.
No, they're sending ICE into Seattle, not protests. They're sending ICE into Seattle
Oh,
today.
oh.
They're sending ICE into Phoenix, Seattle, New York. I think Denver. There was like 5 different cities. They're
But I
reporting
guess
on.
the argument there is that, oh, if they're going in there, there will be, protests, riots, whatever you want to call it.
There are protests in Phoenix. I know that for a fact. Phoenix and Dallas also have protests going on.
Yeah,
New
and I saw
York, of
Greg
course.
Abbott did call in the National Guard for Dallas.
Philly.
Oh God.
Philly was the other one. That's right.
Do we have deportations?
Well, Philly's apparently rioting after winning a Super Bowl, so maybe they should just be in a police state entirely, like
I
forever.
think Philly's pretty good at rioting. They know how to do that.
They've
shit,
got it
man.
figured out down there, man.
I do not have what the current numbers are. All right, I'm gonna be real with you. Google, can you move the fucking AI mode out of the fucking way of the Alt tab? Because that's fucking annoying. Okay.
Oh shit.
So, I mean, all of this, I just want to point this out. All of this fuss, and the best I can find right now is that there's a 300 per person per day increase in deportations.
They
That's
have portable bubble machines.
is a 30% increase. Is that mass deportation?
What's the
mass
total number?
deportation? I don't know. This was only in February, so I don't know that it's gone down. And honestly, it would be difficult to know because in the beginning, 1 second. It would be difficult to know. Let's see. Let me see really quick. Just because one of the issues would be is that if they took over that early, they may have had their eyes on people that they were trying to target. I support 11,000 migrants in February, just over 12,300 in the first 4 weeks of March, approximately 17,000 in April.
First 4 weeks of March, so the entirety of March.
I know that was a weird way for them to put it.
That was a weird way to say that. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it was a bit confusing and everything.
Um,
I mean, you're talking about a 30% increase. We're talking about 12 million people, and they're bringing out what 6,000 extra a month. It looks like.
mm-hmm.
That's not really I wouldn't call that successful. To be honest with you.
What's kind of wild and is that if the argument is still that they're not getting due process before getting kicked out, the number would actually be even less if they were quote unquote doing it correctly.
If they were the deportations would be less.
Yeah, if they were, if you had to process all of them, give them all, the due process that you guys are claiming. Which I mean, I would agree that there has to be some sort of due process. I would imagine, but the number, if what you're saying is true in the sense that none of these people are getting due process, they're just getting put on planes and sent back. The argument there is the number would be even less if they were doing it correctly.
I'm aware, but they're still entitled to due process. And
I'm saying, but yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying that what's wild is that number would be even less. It would be even more like, oh wow, that's not successful, and you're already claiming that it's still not successful. But I don't know. I mean, that's just like a whatever argument. That's not even.
Well,
Did you guys see Elon's tweet this morning?
No, I don't follow him like that. We're not Facebook top 8.
What'd he say?
It was basically, well, shit, I don't want to quote it or it can mess it up. But basically, it was like, I regret saying that about Trump. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah.
well, you can't unring that bell, buddy.
I know that one's out there, brother. You can't do that one.
Was that Musk or the K speaking?
No, that was both.
That was this K-hole speaking.
Oh man,
I really do.
I think it's
a really weird dynamic. Trump's over here freaking out, like, is it the Epstein files? I gotta send people to Portland, and then Musk is over here like just doing the Fenny fold. they're in 2 very different places right now, Anyway. They're in two very
stages of
different
their life.
places. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else that you wanted? I'm gonna see if we have some people.
Nah, man. Go do your thing. I'll talk to you next time. Y'all have a good
All
one.
right, man. Be safe. Protect marginalized communities.
Take care.
So
All right,
I
I'm gonna
found
clear
an
the box
automatic
out because
bubble.
I don't know who's debating.
Okay. I found an automatic bubble machine. It blows 20,000 bubbles per minute. Holy smokes. It's got 2 fans.
Damn,
Battery operated.
it's a
Holy
lot.
crap. That's a lot of bubbles.
Trump's colostomy bag. Yeah, we have 20 subs. A 20 sub goal for the morning. We have 1 right now. If you guys want to support, would appreciate it. Let's see if we can get a debate in here. Oh, we had a crazy week on subs. Crazy week. Trying to get into an agency with pickles, but I don't really know how that's gonna work. We'll have to see. As I've got to talk to him. So.
Do they promote you?
Huh?
Do they promote you?
I don't think so. I think it's just protect my account. I don't honestly know what an agency does. To be real with you.
Have you seen the lady on Good Troubles Live? I forget her name, man, but she's awesome. She has these cute. She rescues cats. She's always got like armadillos and raccoons and shit like that. I forget her name, but I saw her pop up on a TikTok advertisement. She's working with TikTok now for like sending gifts helps my charity. I thought that was pretty cool. How do you get that, man? How do you get like Ground News? Yeah, Carly, that's her name. How do you get Ground News to sponsor you?
I don't know that they would. 1 second, I'm trying to write this.
No more mom jokes. No, 'cause
Probably.
Good Trouble does mom jokes, and they sponsor him. Yeah, the blue hair lady, Carly.
I don't know.
You don't know her? She's awesome.
Rick, what's up? I don't know. Rick, hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. That was an accident. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good.
Nuh-uh,
Brian Wilson died? No! To be fair, I thought he died already. No! Oh, no, maybe he was having some health issues.
He just disappeared.
Oh, my God. Wouldn't it be nice?
Wish they all could be California girls. Such a sexy song.
Man.
I sing it.
Brian Wilson.
The day the music died.
Dude. God, that's going to become a trend now.
What, his picture with that song?
Yeah. Pet Sounds.
George Soros
Pet
is funding
Sounds.
the riots. Come up here, Tracy.
I know they're so delusional. I've been seeing pictures of this. They got like, it's just literally like some dude like badass crew is like asking for people to be hired on fucking on Craigslist. Badass crew. And yeah.
Oh shit.
And then I was like, they're hiring people.
Tracy, come back.
Is that a mustache? This one? No, not really.
I was thinking about growing a mustache. Makes me look older though.
I'm gonna go listen to Pet Sounds when this is over. That's
I
one
don't
of my
know what
favorite
that is.
songs, by the way. I know I skipped a part there, but you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be nice if we were home? That song?
Oh, their album?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't
So that-
realize that's what you were talking about.
I think for that album, did they use the Wrecking Crew for that album? Hold on.
I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan. I don't know. I was more of the Monkees. I love the Monkees. Hey, we're the Monkees. People say we're monkey around.
Yeah, I think that was because I remember watching this part of the documentary where they were talking about this spot specifically where he was like, I thought it was they brought the Wrecking Crew in, and I thought it was the Wrecking Crew, but the Wrecking Crew was like a huge deal back in the day. It would be like, who's the guy from One Republic? Ted, whatever his name is. It would be like that. Like they just worked on a shit ton of songs. I can't remember if it was a Wrecking Crew or not. They worked with Frank Sinatra, I know that. The Beach Boys, they worked with the Beach Boys. I thought they worked on that song though. Wouldn't it be nice where they had them come in and they like Brian Wilson directed the music on that? Where he's like, no, and dude.
Oh, she accidentally accepted again. Don't run.
You're here.
Oh shit!
Ah! Morning, well.
How did she do that? That was like an old school phone. How'd she do that?
I don't know.
Oh,
We
shit.
have Maudie.
Was that some-
Wasn't Maudie in here yesterday?
Is that MK Ultra? Did she just activate somebody?
Oh, yeah. Was I activated? Was that
weird.
AI? That might have been an AI
It
bot.
might have been AI. I think it was.
Maudie, hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
What's going on? By the way, they have AI like on TikTok, like news people. Like not
Yeah, I've
news,
seen
but
it.
I guess
like supporters.
I guess
yeah.
I just want to understand why Trump is such a disaster.
Trump, why he's such a disaster? I mean, literally has not got a fucking thing done the entire time he's been in office. It's really sad, actually. Really sad. He's got 2 things done. And outside of that, everything else is bad. Everything else is a disaster. 100%. Ryan Tedder. That's One Republic.
Yeah, really, what a disaster right now.
Huh?
You don't like this? You don't like low inflation?
Low inflation?
Yeah, inflation is
So
down, no?
the inflation data, well, yeah, inflation's been going down. It started going down under Trump or
No.
under Biden.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
went up the last 3 months from Biden.
It
The
was
last 3
going
months
down
was
under
actually
Biden
up.
as well.
Yeah,
Under
but the
Biden, it
last
was
3
going down.
months, the last 3 months it was going up, and Trump reversed the trend. And now it's
Trump
a
reversed.
record
What
low.
did he do to reverse the? What did he do to reverse the trend?
Lowering energy prices.
How did he lower energy prices? Because gas has actually gone up.
Yeah, but the price of a barrel of oil is actually down.
Right, the price of a barrel of oil is down, but gas is up. Gas is not oil. I mean, it is oil, but it's not a
Well,
direct
it is
correlation
made-
to
it is
gas
made-
prices.
It is made from oil. When the price from oil falls,
Right.
it's expected that the price from gas will follow. So this is gonna happen very soon.
What?
I think when the price from oil is going down, the price from gas will follow.
The price. That's not how it works. Because remember when oil went down through
Why not?
2022 and 2023? Because we have a peak oil production capacity, right? So we can only make X amount of gas. So it doesn't matter how much oil we have. All of our refineries are operating at full capacity.
Who said that?
What? What do you mean?
said
Who
that?
said that? You can go and check. You can go and check oil versus gas prices.
You think refineries that are full capacity?
Refineries
Trump actually
are
opened
operating.
up. Trump actually opened up new refineries.
No, they actually closed under him. And I just want to point out this is irrelevant to your argument because gas nationally is up since Trump took office. I asked
How
you
much
for
is
a
gas?
reason, something that he did to
How-
bring inflation
how-
down.
how
and
much is gas
inflation
right
had been. What? I think it's
How much is gas
226
right
or
now?
326 or something nationally.
Wasn't it the Memorial Day a record low? The Memorial Weekend?
I have no idea. I can only tell you what the national average was, and the national average is up.
Well, I'm saying is when you have the price from oil going down, you're gonna have eventually gas is expected to come down because gas is made from crude oil.
Gas may come
Right.
down. Unfortunately, it's also going to cause a lot of people to lose their jobs.
When? So you think gas going down?
What do
is
you mean
better
a
deal?
record? What do you mean a record low? What does that mean?
Yeah, Memorial Days was actually a record low
Record low over when?
from 4 years. And I think
So not a
inflation
record
adjusted,
low.
it was over. It
So
was
not a
actually a
record
record low
low.
from 20 years.
So not a record low. Just a recent low.
Yeah, but I think inflation adjusted, it was actually a record low from 20 years.
So why don't you get Biden inflation adjusted? Why does only Trump get inflation adjusted? Because if Biden's inflation adjusted, his record or his gas prices are actually lower than Trump's were. So we can admit that then, right? Biden had lower gas prices adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, but inflation went up under Biden.
What does that have to do with gas prices?
So why do you say that Biden actually had a lower gas prices?
What does that
inflation
have to
adjusted?
do with gas? Inflation adjusted, Biden has lower gas prices than pre-pandemic levels.
When?
At the end of his presidency. It's actually
Okay.
through most of 2022, 2024.
Okay, that can be true by the end of this presidency.
What did Trump do to
But
cause
he was
inflation to go
president for
down?
4 years, not only by the end of his presidency, yes?
What did can you answer that question? What has Trump done to bring prices down? To bring inflation down?
He brought the egg prices down.
What did
has
he do? He didn't
done?
actually bring egg prices. Egg prices actually didn't come down. Trading prices for eggs came down, not egg prices. But what has he
What do you
actually
mean?
done? What has he
Egg prices are
actually
cheaper
done?
right now. You can go to groceries.
Wholesale
actually.
prices for eggs. Wholesale prices for eggs are down. Egg prices in stores are up. They're up.
Since Trump took office?
Yeah, I checked the numbers on retail sales.
No.
Yeah, they're up.
When you go into the store, you see it's cheaper. So I don't know.
I
what
am
you're
telling
talking
you, I paid $6.50 when Biden was in office. I think they're over $7 now.
about. Oh, the national price from X is $7 now.
Regardless, it hasn't really come down. But I'm asking you very simply.
I think
what
you're very
did he
wrong
do?
on
Okay,
that.
I'll just concede it. I'll just concede that eggs came down. Whatever, I don't care. What did he do to cause eggs to come down?
His agriculture secretary laid out a detailed plan. I don't know exactly the details. His agriculture secretary
What?
actually laid out a detailed plan.
So it says, dude, you're clearly uneducated when it comes to the oil and gas market. Why don't you come in and debate me over on TikTok? Sorry, go ahead.
I said his agriculture secretary actually laid out a detailed plan, how they did it, how they're gonna do it, and they did it.
What did they do?
What's his agricultural secretary's name?
I don't know.
And what was
What's
the
his
plan,
plan?
he laid out?
I don't know the details. I know the results. The results is
So in
what
other
matters.
words, okay, yeah, no. It's not results. It's causation. Causation matters.
Yeah, but that's just an opinion. I mean, I can argue. I gotta do that,
19
and I
subs
gotta
away,
do
by
that.
the way.
But what matters at the
19
end is the
subs away,
result.
by the way.
Hmm?
Yeah, I know. But so, you can't give Trump credit for shit if you can't point to things he did to earn that credit.
What
I
do you
don't know
mean?
what you're not getting about this. Well, because if something happens under Biden's presidency, you don't just get to assign him credit
You don't-
because it
you-
happened. That would be unfair.
You don't think the president is responsible for the economy?
This guy said it's uneducated. Okay, fine. Pen, go away then. I know you don't know what you're talking about. You don't want to hop in the box. There's nothing to talk about. Go away. Sorry.
You don't think the president of the United States is responsible for the economy?
No, man. The
I
president
think-
doesn't control the price of eggs.
So why is the economy always the
Yeah.
biggest issue in a presidential election?
That's called an argument ad
if-
populum.
If the president has no impact on the economy, why even vote?
What?
If the president has no impact on the economy, why even bother to vote?
Okay, you're getting into some weird fucking logical fallacy stuff that I don't feel to want to sit here and unpack with you.
Oh, you can't answer it? Okay, let's just move on.
Well, because it's a
Martin, you're just
stupid
being-
question.
No,
your intention
I
is
believe.
just
I
I
believe that
mean,
the
it's a
president-
stupid,
this is-
arrogant question. I've
No,
asked you
I believe
multiple different times what he did to cause inflation to go down, and you have been
I'm not
unable to give me a concise reason other than he was in office. Okay, it was coming down under Biden. So
I'm
what's your
not an
argument?
economist or an inflation expert. So that's why
Okay,
I
then
look at
don't
the
make a
results.
claim if you can't substantiate it.
That's why I look on results. That's how most American people
Yeah.
vote.
So, but you have to understand,
By the
man. You're
way,
claiming that the president. Hold on. You're claiming that the president controls the economy. Cool. If he does, show us how.
not entirely, but he has a big impact.
Cool. Show
He's
us
in
how.
control. He's in control of
Marty,
the
show us
executive.
how then.
He's in control of the executive branch.
And what's that do?
He's in control of the Treasury Department, Agriculture Department. All of this has huge impacts on the economy.
So what you're saying then is the president installs policies and procedures within these departments that controls the economy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's he done then? What policies and what procedures did he implement to control the
Bro.
price of eggs, Marty?
Bro, I'm not on the line, okay? I'm not in
Because it doesn't exist, right?
No,
we
I'm not
can,
in a-
we can understand he doesn't control corporations. He doesn't set the prices of eggs, right?
He filed hundreds he signed hundreds of
Bro.
executive orders. I don't follow the details of every executive order.
The president of the United States doesn't have a lot of control domestically. He has a ton of power globally, like for trades and agreements and stuff like that globally. But domestically, he doesn't have a lot of control. The only control he's going to do is implement like tariffs that would cause things to rise or fall.
But they did.
So if that's the
That's
case,
actually a good
what
thing.
did he do then to cause the domestic prices of eggs or anything to fall?
You want to talk about X particularly? I told you. Listen to his agriculture secretary. I'm not like
okay.
Okay.
Tell
All right.
me
Well,
his name.
I
I'll
don't
go
need to
look him
talk
up.
to you then, right? I don't need to talk to you then, right? Because you don't know what
I'm
you're
not
talking
like you
about.
people that pretend that you know everything, okay? I'm not an economist.
I don't pretend to
I'm not
know
a-
everything. I've asked you. I don't
Yes.
pretend to know everything, which is why I've asked you to explain to me, and you are unable to do so, and you've been unable to do so, and now you're crashing out when all I did was ask you for basic information.
Okay,
So do you have it or not?
let me explain you something, okay? Most people, 99% of people, and you are one of them, don't understand exactly how the economy works, how inflation works, how
Okay,
all of the-
good. Well, I'll go ahead and remove one of those problems from the fucking from the live here. One of those people. I think obviously if that's true, there's 3 people up here that don't know anything about the economy, and there should be only 1 or 2. So,
Yeah, I don't know
oh
shit
goodness
actually.
gracious.
But I do want to thank Suzanne for she gave me a Venmo for liking the monkeys and fighting for the peeps. I appreciate you, Suzanne.
They're gonna change the.
I used to love that show when I was a kid. You guys wouldn't know nothing about it. You're too young. Did you ever watch the monkeys when you
Sorry.
were a kid?
No, what's
Alright.
that?
Do you know who the band is?
I know who the band is.
Okay. Took the last train to. Yeah. Okay. They had a show, and it was just a silly show where they goofed around all the time. They'd like speed up and they'd be goofing around inside the house and they'd speed the video up and it was complete chaos. And I was a kid.
You know, the Monkees is like, it's a complete made up fucking. Do you know that?
Made up band? Yeah, made up band for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But I was 6, 7 years old. It was brilliant to me.
Yeah. I think some of them weren't even very good at like playing instruments. My recollection. I think some of them weren't even great at like. Was it the? Do you remember the Smex Pistols?
Yeah.
One of the guys in there could not fucking play the bass at all. They literally put him on there because he showed up to their show. He could not play the bass. They could not even teach him to play the bass. He just stood there at the show and just could not play. Yeah.
Never
Anyway,
heard that.
I think, yeah. What was his name?
I don't know, but I used to do that with the saxophone in music class.
Sid Vicious.
Sid
Yeah.
Vicious? All right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, he
I
could
played
not
the
play.
alto saxophone, and I used to pretend like I was playing. and I wasn't. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Huh.
Sid Vicious, he kind of
Yeah, I heard some stories.
he went kind of hard, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that your dog drinking water?
Yes.
He's kind of not a great person. Anyways, we're going to call it for the night. Or for the day. Fuck, it's the morning. Fuck, it's been a long... Fuck, it's been a long morning. We're going to call it. I'll be back live at 6 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or 9 a.m. to 10:30ish a.m. And then 6 p.m. to 9. So, anyway, Josh,
All
appreciate
right,
you
man. We'll
joining.
see you tonight. You guys be safe. Have a
All
good
right,
day.
I will see you guys tonight. Everyone have a good one. Have a good day, a good morning. Hope it all went well for you, and I'll see you on the next one.